Episode 256, Reserved for Violet. Anna secretly glanced at Elizabeth. Elizabeth had invited Anna and her good friend Mina out shopping. Anna was surprised by the invitation, since she and Elizabeth weren't close. Still, Anna had accepted it, as she felt a bit sorry for Elizabeth, given everything that had happened in the Kingston family. Not to mention, she had recently been dumped by Anna's brother, Logan. Mina lowered her voice. "Do you think Elizabeth is still hung up on your brother? Otherwise, why would she want to hang out with us? She never wanted to when they were together. But now that your brother is with Violet," she started. "Enough, Mina. I don't want to gossip about my brother's love life. You know what he's like," Anna whispered. Mina shrugged, but let the subject drop. The store was filled with all the latest fashions, fresh off the runways of New York Fashion Week. There were bags, shoes, clothes, and jewelry. This particular store was owned by the Alexander family and filled to the brim with the latest designs from their own brands. Anna paid for a purse Mina wanted as a present and told Elizabeth to also pick something out she liked. "Elizabeth, feel free to pick out anything you want, and I'll have them put it on my personal store account," Anna told her. "No need. I will tell Logan if I see something I like," Elizabeth replied. Logan wouldn't care about such things, but Elizabeth needed a reason to contact Logan. Elizabeth hadn't spoken to Logan since she'd left him in the hotel room yesterday. She wanted him to know that she was willing to be the woman who waited quietly and would not give him any trouble. "Oh, look at that dress. I think I saw it in this month's Vogue." Anna had spotted a long, peacock blue wool dress hanging behind the counter. She flagged a salesperson and told them she'd like to try it on. "Miss, I'm sorry. That dress is reserved for another customer," the clerk told her apologetically. "Who? My family owns this store. I'm Anna Alexander. I should be given the first right of refusal for anything in this store. You'll have to tell your other customer there has been a mistake." Anna tried to remain polite, but she was throwing her name around a bit to get what she wanted. Elizabeth walked over and spoke up for Anna. "Surely Logan Alexander's younger sister should be given the first opportunity to purchase the dress. Who ordered it?" she asked. "Actually, it was Mr. Alexander's stylist Tom who put it on hold," the clerk replied with a small smile. He knew if he allowed someone else to purchase one of Tom's holds, even if it was Mr. Alexander's own sister, it would cost him his job, so the clerk was standing firm. Tom and Logan had a very good relationship. Tom was not only Logan's personal stylist, but he was also Logan's good friend. He chose all of Logan's clothes and had first right of refusal on any new item that came in. "Tom put it on hold? Perfect. I'll just call him then and ask him to give it to me." Anna pulled out her phone and she smiled at the clerk knowingly. Anna knew Tom and had a friendly relationship with him. A few words in his ear, and this snotty clerk would be eating his words, Anna thought. "Tom, hi, it's Anna. I'm good, thank you." Since they were very familiar with each other, they didn't bother with formalities. Anna went straight to the point and asked Tom for the blue dress. "Oh, Anna, I'm sorry, but that dress is reserved for Violet," Tom told her. Since Violet had moved in with Logan, Tom was no longer just Logan's stylist, but Violet's as well. Tom had strict instructions that the best of each season's fashions should be pulled and reserved for Violet. Tom had been thrilled with his new assignment. For someone like Tom, who lived for fashion, to be given a blank check to purchase all the best items each season was a dream come true. Violet was now his favorite client. Not only was she gorgeous, but she had a figure that fits into all the sample size items. Violet was also not much of a shopper, so she gave Tom free rein to choose whatever he thought would look best on her. She was the easiest and sweetest client Tom had ever had. Violet didn't know that she was being given first dibs on all the best items, and she definitely didn't know how much Logan spent on her clothes. Tom had been given strict instructions by Logan not to tell Violet any of this. Tom thought Logan was afraid of Violet feeling pressure. As far as Tom was concerned, his friend had it bad for Violet. It seemed that Logan, who could be so cold and distant, actually had a heart beating under the designer suits Tom ordered him. It was clear that once he cared about someone, Logan would spare no expense to make them happy. Tom didn't believe for 1 second that Logan and Violet were just casual lovers. With his insight, Tom felt that Violet was far more important to Logan than his friend even realized. Therefore, this dress definitely couldn't be given to Anna. Tom knew the peacock blue color would look stunning on Violet. As Tom explained why he couldn't give the dress to Anna, her face fell. She thanked him and hung up quickly. Anna couldn't even look at the clerk. "Why does it seem that everything always comes back to Violet?" Elizabeth sighed. "I'm so sorry, Anna. I wish there was something I could do to help you," she added. "Forget it." Anna waved her hand at Elizabeth. "It has nothing to do with you. It was my brother's order, and I don't have the ability to make him side with me. That's all." Anna's face turned red. She was very embarrassed. Why did everyone like Violet so much? When Anna thought of Garrett's interest in Violet, a little jealousy involuntarily rose in her heart. Was Violet really that great? It didn't seem fair. When Logan was dating Elizabeth, her brother had seemed indifferent to her. Elizabeth and Violet were cousins. How could the difference between two women be so big? Given her own situation with Garrett, Anna now felt some sympathy for Elizabeth. "It's just a dress. Don't be sad," Mina told her, wrapping her arms around Anna's shoulders. "Let's choose something else. I saw some great sweaters," Elizabeth suggested. "But I still don't understand. Why does everyone like Violet so much? I am the one whose last name is Alexander. I am Logan's sister," Anna pouted. "People are always biased. I've told you to get on better terms with your brother, but you refuse to listen," Mina told her friend. Anna had a reliable, powerful, and handsome brother, but she spent all her time pestering Garrett. As far as Mina was concerned, Anna had been spending her time on the wrong brother. It was her own brother, Logan, who could really help Anna in life. "Do you want me to tell Violet to give it to you?" Elizabeth suggested. "No need. I know you two aren't on good terms, and I don't want you to beg for a dress." Anna also had her pride. Mina was a little suspicious of Elizabeth. She had heard the gossip, and she didn't want Anna to get in the middle of the Kingston family's internal drama, and she knew Anna's brother wouldn't like it. Elizabeth told Anna she wouldn't interfere, but secretly she was already plotting. She would go find Violet at the studio tomorrow and ask her to give up the dress. And if she didn't, Elizabeth would spread rumors of Violet's selfishness with Logan's little sister online. She would see who Logan would help when the time came. "I don't care. My brother is too fierce. Logan cares about everyone but me. In comparison, Garrett treats me well. At least he has a better temper." Anna was still sulking. Since she didn't totally trust her, Mina didn't want to keep talking about Garrett and Logan in front of Elizabeth, so she suggested they leave. "Come on, I heard the Lori Group's new store opened. Let's go check it out. I bet we find a ton of awesome stuff," Mina urged. The three of them gathered their shopping bags and prepared to leave. On her way out the door, Anna couldn't help one final look back at the blue dress. Really? What was so great about Violet? Anna thought. She sighed and followed her friends out the door. Episode 257. Not again. Elizabeth, Anna, and Mina left Alexander Group's shop and headed to the Lori Group's new store down the street. Elizabeth was trying to cheer Anna up after she got to know that the dress she wanted in her family's shop had already been reserved for Violet. The two were getting along very well, bonding over their shared frustration that everyone thought Violet was so great. The store had an impressive display of the latest fashions, all with a modern yet classic aesthetic. The women quickly dove in, and it wasn't long before Anna was squealing over a cream-colored skirt with an unusual underskirt of sky blue. There was a matching sweater in sky blue with cream embroidery on the sleeves. Anna immediately asked to try it on, only to be told that it was reserved for another customer. "I'm sorry, Miss Alexander. Our CEO, Garrett Gardner, put this outfit on hold," the saleswoman told her. Not again, Anna thought. Elizabeth, however, was secretly delighted. She assumed Garrett was planning to give her the outfit, since he seemed to be so into her. Elizabeth didn't reveal this to Anna, instead acting appropriately sympathetic. Anna wasn't giving up a second time, though. She whipped out her cell phone and hit Garrett's name. "I'm calling Garrett. Not every outfit in Los Angeles can be on hold for Violet," Anna huffed. Anna was relieved when Garrett took her call. She told him where she was and why she was calling. "Why do you want that particular outfit? It doesn't even suit you. When did your style change?" Garrett asked. "I like to try all different styles." Anna was in the fashion industry, so it would be expected for her to experiment with new styles. But Garrett knew this was just an excuse. Anna had not changed her style since he'd known her. "I notice you have changed a lot recently. I haven't heard from you that much." In the past, Anna would show up at his house uninvited every few days. Now she would call and text him every day instead. Garrett thought this was an improvement, so he wasn't as annoyed as he had been. He was so used to Anna bugging him that he wondered if he might actually miss it if she one day stopped idolizing him. But even if that were the case, Garrett still could not do what his grandmother wanted him to do. He didn't have feelings for Anna and couldn't pretend to be in love with her. Anna was just a child. "Then, do you like my changes?" Anna had forgotten about the clothes. She was too caught up in the sound of Garrett's smooth voice and lost her temper. At the moment, she could barely remember why she'd called him in the first place. Elizabeth rolled her eyes on the inside, although she remained serene and supportive on the outside. It sounded to her like Garrett was laying it on pretty thick. Elizabeth knew he was toying with Anna. She was too naive and silly to attract a man like Garrett. He definitely would want a woman who was on his level. A woman like Elizabeth, for instance. Anna didn't know what Elizabeth was thinking. All of her attention was on Garrett. "You want to know?" Garrett smiled. He knew that Anna hung on every word he said, so he wanted to tease her. "Of course I do," she said. "Then be good. Post some promotional photos from your visit to the shop on Lori Group's social media accounts. When I have time, I will visit and bring you a gift," he told her. "Will it be something I like? Maybe something I've seen before?" Anna would naturally do whatever Garrett requested. She was filled with anticipation. What was Garrett going to buy her? Perhaps the items he'd put on hold had always been meant for Anna. Garrett wouldn't want to give such a beautiful outfit to anyone else. It must be for her. "You will know when the time comes." Garrett's low voice sounded like he was speaking beside Anna's ear. It made her cheeks turn red and her heart beat faster. She felt herself growing warm. In fact, Anna would be disappointed. Garrett wouldn't be giving the outfit to Anna. He had indeed purchased it for someone else as a surprise. But he was confident that with a few moments of sweet talk, he could coax Anna into accepting anything. Garrett wasn't worried. "You are still in the shop?" "Are you alone?" Garrett asked her. "No, I'm with Miss Kingston and—" "Miss Kingston?" Garrett interrupted her. Anna was with Violet? If Violet had seen the outfit, it would spoil Garrett's surprise. "You're with Violet?" he asked her. "Why do you assume I mean Violet?" "I'm with Elizabeth," Anna said, a little frustrated. "Oh, Elizabeth." Garrett immediately settled down. His gift was not ruined. "Have Elizabeth pick something out for herself and put it on my account. I'm a little busy here. I'll talk to you later." Garrett hung up. Garrett hung up before Anna could say goodbye, but she didn't even notice his abrupt dismissal. Anna was still immersed in his rare sweetness. Garrett has been ignoring her, but today it seemed like he might actually have missed her. This thought put Anna in a very good mood. It didn't even bother her that Garrett had said for Elizabeth to choose a gift from him. It seemed like the rumor about a close relationship between Garrett and Elizabeth was just that, a rumor. Garrett's attitude just now made it seem like he was not very familiar with Elizabeth, that the idea of a gift was just an ordinary courtesy. Anna heaved a sigh of relief, but she definitely had to do what Garrett told her to do, so she asked Elizabeth if there was anything she wanted. No need, although it's a very generous offer. Garrett and I are not that close. I wouldn't want to impose, Elizabeth told her. It's all right. You came with me. Garrett said that I can choose whatever I want. Anna was very satisfied with Elizabeth's tactfulness. She knew that Garrett would never distance himself from her without a reason. It must be because of her brother. She guessed that Logan was making things difficult for Garrett again. Although she knew that Garrett didn't intend to neglect her, Anna could still not buy the outfit she wanted. So instead she picked out necklaces for Mina and Elizabeth. As the women were discussing where to eat, Anna's mother, Fiona, called. I'm at your grandmother's house. Where are you? Her mother's voice was very careful. Fiona was cautious around Agnes for fear she would be scolded for doing nothing all day but shopping and playing cards. I'm shopping with friends. Why are you at the old residence? Did grandmother scold you again? Ignore her. When I come home tonight, I'll bring you some good food, she stated. Grandmother asked if you want to come here for dinner, Fiona told her. Anna could hear the silent plea for reinforcements in her mother's tone, but had no intention of going to the Alexander home so she could be reprimanded as well. I've already made plans to eat with Mina, she said. Just as she was about to hang up, Anna heard her grandmother loudly call out, It's fine if Anna doesn't come home today, but tell her to come over for dinner on Friday. It's her big brother's birthday. It was Logan's birthday Friday, and Anna had forgotten. She told her mother to tell grandmother she would be there on Friday and hung up. Of course she would attend Logan's birthday dinner, otherwise her grandmother would never let Anna hear the end of it. She also felt a little guilty. Anna had completely forgotten about Logan's birthday. Instead, she had been saying bad things about her big brother and blaming him for being biased towards Violet. Mina and Elizabeth had overheard Agnes's shouted invitation to Anna. Elizabeth sighed and said, Logan's birthday is here. I'm afraid I won't be able to celebrate with him this year. Elizabeth smiled bitterly. You want to go? Anna asked her. Elizabeth definitely wanted to go, but she couldn't come right out and ask for an invitation. She needed to use more finesse than that. No, I wouldn't want to make Logan angry, she said to Anna, and sighed, trying to look as pitiful as possible. Episode 258. A Gift for Logan. Elizabeth was trying to look as pitiful as possible. Anna was invited to Logan's birthday dinner, and Elizabeth desperately wanted an invitation. Mina was suspicious of Elizabeth's docile reaction, but when Anna saw Elizabeth's pitiful look, she wanted to help her. Mina didn't think Anna should be meddling in other people's business. Mrs. Alexander didn't like Violet, but that didn't mean she liked Elizabeth. I wish you could come with me, but unfortunately it's my grandmother's choice. I'm sure you must know someone who could help you with an invitation. Anna tilted her head and smiled at Elizabeth. Although she was an illegitimate child and her grandmother would occasionally lecture her, in the end, Anna was still an Alexander and had been doted on her whole life. That kind of natural pampering made Elizabeth very envious. Violet's parents had doted on her when they were alive, but she and Chloe had never experienced unconditional love from their own parents. After Logan helped make her famous, her fans had been the first people to ever dote on Elizabeth. She loved being the center of people's attention. Elizabeth could not lose Logan and his financial support. No, it's better not to seek an invitation. It will only make Logan hate me more. I don't think he wants me there, Elizabeth said as her face turned red. She looked like she was about to cry. Anna felt bad for Elizabeth. After all, Anna had seen Logan taking care of Violet. But how much did Violet like him? As his sister, Anna wanted her brother to be with someone who loved and cared about him. Anyway, grandmother didn't approve of Violet, so Anna figured she might as well encourage Elizabeth to try. Both women were from the Kingston family, but who knew whether Violet would win her lawsuit or not? If she failed to become the Kingston heir, she would be an outcast. It was too early to say. Anna felt that she wasn't taking sides with Elizabeth. It was just that Anna was being realistic and looking out for her big brother. If you don't give it a try, how will you know if my brother likes it or hates it? If you don't fight for him, aren't you afraid you will regret it in the future? Anna's words made Elizabeth fall into deep thought. In the end, she nodded her head and asked Anna what she should do and who she should talk to. Garrett and Logan's mother, Joanna, arrives soon for a visit. Your mother knows her, right? Ask your mother to pay a visit. She can put in a good word for you and maybe score you an invitation to Logan's birthday dinner, Anna suggested. Elizabeth smiled and gave Anna a hug and promised to talk to Miranda that very night. Okay, let's forget about all that now and focus on my current problem. What should I buy Logan for his birthday? Anna asked them. Your brother gives you more pocket money than you earn all year from your job. You need to use Logan's money to buy him something expensive, Mina teased. Clothes? Elizabeth suggested. Or a watch? A watch. Anna, have you seen the ads for the new watch Lori Group is releasing this Christmas? Mina asked her. It's a GPS-style watch, she told them. No, I haven't seen the ads, Anna told her friend. She felt a bit guilty. Anna never paid much attention to what the Lori Group was doing outside of her own projects. She wondered if it annoyed Garrett that she didn't know more about the business. Did he feel that Anna didn't show enough interest in his work? Anna secretly thought about it and decided in the future to pay more attention to Garrett's career. The rumor is the watch was inspired by the Gardner family's own ordeal of having a child kidnapped when they were young. The watches were developed in adult and child models. Depending on who you want to keep track of, you choose a second watch that matches theirs, and then you'll automatically be connected at all times. They never shut off, and they're made of military-grade platinum that is very high-end and virtually indestructible. You could buy a pair for your brother and let him choose who to give the second one to, Mina suggested. If you're there when I give it to Logan, you might be able to take the opportunity to ask my brother for the second one. Anna grinned at Elizabeth. I wouldn't dare, Elizabeth said, shaking her head. If you want something, you must fight for it. You can't expect others to just hand you what you want. Anna wanted Elizabeth to fight for her brother. Anna's opinion of Elizabeth had changed. She seemed harmless compared to the rumors out there about her. To Anna, she didn't seem arrogant and extravagant, but a bit helpless and timid. If Logan didn't like her, then nothing would happen. Anna thought Elizabeth needed to try, though. Men could be fickle. Violet was not seen as a suitable wife candidate, so Elizabeth still had a chance as far as Anna was concerned. You are different from other people. Logan will see that sooner or later. Have some confidence in yourself, Anna finished, trying to cheer Elizabeth up. Thank you, Anna. I'm sorry we didn't get to know each other better sooner. You are different from what I was led to believe. I didn't expect you to care so much about people. I thought you didn't like me, Elizabeth confessed to her. That's ridiculous. Of course I like you. Anna smiled at Elizabeth and gave her a hug. Okay, enough mushy stuff. Let's go buy this gift. Mina still didn't entirely trust Elizabeth, so she interrupted them. Elizabeth wasn't offended as she followed Mina and Anna over to the watch counter to pick out Logan's birthday present. Elizabeth was still thinking about what Mina had said about a kidnapping in the Gardner family. Was it Garrett or Logan? Which one of them had been kidnapped when they were young? Anna was also a little stunned. She was also thinking about the kidnapping. Anna never knew that such a thing had happened when they were kids. Why hadn't she heard anyone in her family ever mention it? Soon, Anna and Elizabeth were putting their heads together, trying to figure out the mystery of this kidnapping. Anna felt that it was probably Garrett. Joanna and Logan weren't close, and she didn't think the Gardners would develop a watch based on Logan's experience. When there was a chance, Anna planned to ask Garrett what had happened in the past. Perhaps it was because of his past trauma that Garrett could not accept her. Maybe the two of them would be able to connect emotionally over this, and their relationship could be further improved. Anna was suddenly filled with confidence about the future. After all, Grandma Sarah liked her very much, so the next person she wanted to please was Garrett's mother. Anna wondered when she was due to arrive. Anna called her mother back to find out more about Joanna Gardner, but Fiona couldn't talk. Anna heard Grandmother in the background ordering her mother around. "Fiona, get off the phone. I'm not done giving you instructions," Anna heard Grandmother tell her mother impatiently. Fiona told her daughter that Agnes had asked her to help with the party preparations and then quickly hung up the phone. "Good, you're off. Now, where were we?" Agnes said. Agnes had decided to enlist Fiona to help her with Logan's party. If Joanna returned and found out that Fiona didn't live in the Alexander family's home, but elsewhere, Agnes was afraid Joanna would try to take advantage. Agnes didn't trust or like her former daughter-in-law. Her son had been gone for 20 years. Agnes had decided she would no longer condone Joanna's willfulness and frivolous behavior, and she definitely would not allow Logan to be influenced by this woman. As far as Agnes was concerned, it was time to put Joanna in her place. Episode 259. Party Prep. Agnes was concerned about Joanna's upcoming visit. It had been 20 years since her son had passed, and Agnes had decided she would no longer condone her former daughter-in-law's willful behavior. When Adam and Amy became official heirs of the Alexander family, it ensured their future. She knew the first thing Logan's mother would do upon her arrival would be to try to exert her power with Logan and the rest of the family, and Agnes wasn't going to allow that to happen. Joanna wouldn't even have her suitcases unpacked before she would be trying to set Logan up on a blind date with some woman of her choosing. While Agnes wanted Logan to settle down as well, she didn't trust any potential wife that Joanna would try to push on Logan. They would no doubt be just like Joanna, deceitful and heartless. Agnes would not let history repeat itself. She would not let a woman hurt her grandson the way Joanna had hurt her son. Agnes knew Joanna was trying to improve her standing in the family through her son's marriage, and she would only choose a woman for Logan that Joanna was allied. Well, Agnes had allies of her own. Agnes wanted to give Fiona a chance to take on more responsibility in the family, so she had asked her to take care of the birthday party preparations. Although Fiona was not, and would never be, the lady of the Alexander family, Agnes would not let Joanna suppress her. Although she never expressed it, Agnes had developed a bit of a soft spot over the years for her son's former mistress. Fiona had made Christopher happy, unlike his wife Joanna, who had betrayed him for another man. So Agnes had enlisted Fiona's help. Hopefully she wouldn't let her down. To be sure of this, Agnes was giving her detailed instructions. As Agnes spoke, Fiona frantically took notes. "Fiona, this is not a big reception. It's just a family dinner party. Only family members and some close friends will be in attendance. You know them all, so don't be afraid. Talk to the chef about the menu. All of the food will be prepared and served by our staff. If you have any questions, Alex will help you." Fiona was from a small working-class family, so she didn't know much about these kind of things. Although she had learned a little over the years, Fiona would mostly just fake it. But this time, that was obviously not possible. While the Alexander family didn't have a mistress, they had to elevate Fiona to deal with Joanna. Fiona was the symbol of Joanna's failure. Because of her existence, Joanna couldn't show off her power in the Alexander family. This could be considered Fiona's greatest contribution to the family. Agnes was reminded again that Logan's marriage was a top priority. The Alexander family desperately needed a competent mistress. No one agreed that the family needed a competent mistress more than Fiona. The woman looked panicked as she turned to Alex now with a helpless expression. Alex found it funny and shook his head secretly. Christopher Alexander's mistress had been a young woman taken in by a powerful man. Even after all these years, Fiona was still largely ignorant of the high society world she now found herself in. While Alex appreciated that Fiona mostly faded into the background, not seeking power, he thought she was still not worthy of much attention. Alex felt that Fiona was nothing more than a pretty face. He also had some prejudice against Anna. Alex felt that she was just like her mother. Other than chasing after Garrett, Anna had nothing else to do with the Alexander family and the Smith group. As far as Alex was concerned, both mother and daughter were pretty useless. Alex agreed with Agnes that the Alexander family was in desperate need of a queen to go with their king. Logan was powerful and capable. The whole family relied on him to maintain their wealth and privilege. They never dared to disobey him, and all kinds of disputes were avoided because of Logan's strong leadership. Now he needed a wife that could be his partner in leading the family. Not for the first time, Violet's face came to Alex's mind at this thought. Violet was different. She had a decisive mind when she encountered a situation. It was probably because she had gone through a lot of hardships when she was young. She was only in her 20s, but she was completely different from other young women her age, like Anna and the Kingston sisters. Alex understood why Violet had caught Logan's eye, and Logan's judgment had yet to be wrong. Agnes finished instructing Fiona and sent her off to get to work. Now that they were alone, Alex tentatively asked, "Are you going to invite Violet to Logan's birthday dinner? After all, it's not just Logan's birthday, but Adam and Amy's as well. She is their mother." Alex knew Agnes wasn't going to like the question, but to him, it only seemed right that Violet be included. "No. Why would I invite that vixen who has turned my own grandson against me?" Agnes shook her head. "Violet no longer works for Smith Group," Alex reminded her. "She's never involved herself in company business or sought any advantage for herself. And even if she had tried, Logan has never been unduly influenced by others. You need only look at what's going on currently between Logan and the board for proof of this." Alex was not happy about the company's new joint venture with Laurie Group and the Kingston Group. A foreign company was now involved, and the Smith Group's board of directors wanted Logan to sign an additional contract. Logan, however, was refusing to sign and was adamantly opposed to the deal. The board is now even threatening to make Logan resign if he doesn't sign the contract, and yet he has held firm, Alex told Agnes. "But who can guarantee that a CEO's every decision is correct? Logan should listen to everyone's opinion," Agnes argued. "But Logan has never made a mistake in all the years he's led Smith Group. That should count for something right now." Alex was proud of Logan. He also thought that Logan was right in this instance. The Smith Group was originally Logan's and a family business. Even if the board of directors withdrew their investments one by one, it wouldn't have much of an impact on the Smith Group's bottom line. Did they really think that the Smith Group wouldn't be able to survive without them? That they could force Logan to step down as CEO? Without their investment, that was better than nothing. The most they could do was to destabilize the transition for some time. In Los Angeles, the Smith Group was still the boss. However, if they signed a contract with an unreliable partner and one thing went wrong, the company would not lose tens of millions, but billions of dollars. That would be the real unstable factor that would shake the Smith Group. "You are protecting him, Alex. It's all your fault for pampering him. He doesn't even listen to my opinion on official and private matters. This is really giving me a headache. Agnes felt uncomfortable when she thought about Logan and Violet being together. Why was Agnes pestered by the Kingston family? When Logan's birthday was over, Agnes decided she needed to have a good talk with Violet. Whatever she wanted, Agnes would give it to her, no matter what the cost, if she would leave Logan. Or better yet, leave Logan and Los Angeles altogether, so Agnes could raise the children without Violet's influence. That would be ideal. Agnes hoped Violet succeeded in inheriting her family's business. If she did, Violet would no longer be content to merely be someone's lover. They would definitely break up. If Violet had her own money and status, she wouldn't need to chase Logan. But if Violet didn't succeed in claiming her inheritance, she might cling to her grandson and refuse to leave. Thinking about this, Agnes got quite anxious. Agnes quickly ordered Alex to have people keep an eye on the Kingston family's legal battle. Alex probably knew what she was thinking, but he didn't say anything. Agnes decided that if Violet needed the Alexander family's help in her legal battle with the Kingstons, she would get it. Agnes could not let Violet fail. Episode 260. OTP. One True Pair. After the incident with Lionel at dinner, Violet had the day off from work. Logan had also, uncharacteristically, taken time off work, and the two of them had spent the day together. They had worked through their differences, and Logan had even invited Violet to join him at his grandmother's house for a joint birthday dinner for him and the twins. The next day, Violet had to return to the studio for another voice lesson with Jay. When Violet arrived at work, she was surprised to find Garrett, once again waiting to greet her at the studio's entrance. Why was he here? Violet had thought Garrett was being polite when he'd greeted her on her first day of work, but now she couldn't figure out why he would be here again on her second. Even more surprising, Garrett had brought Violet gifts. You agreeing to sign the contract is a huge help to Lori Group. This is just a small personal token of appreciation from me, Garrett told Violet, as she looked down in bewilderment at the large, beautifully wrapped present. It had obviously been purchased from the Lori Group store. The large gift box was in the store's signature teal-blue color, and the letters LG were ornately displayed on gold ribbons. Garrett, this is very generous of you, but there's no need to buy me gifts. I'm just an employee doing my job, Violet told him a bit nervously. Garrett smiled his most charming smile. Violet, I can assure you that you are not just another Lori Group employee. You are our next star. When Violet started to protest again, Garrett cut her off. Think of it as a gift from a grateful CEO. Not an admiring friend. Violet didn't want to accept his gift. After all, if she accepted it, she would have to explain to Logan who the gift was from and why she'd received it. Given she and Logan had just finished arguing over Lionel, Violet really didn't want to have to defend herself to him regarding Garrett. However, Garrett's attitude was firm. His tone was genuine, and his eyes were sincere. He even said that it was a custom made just for her. Violet had no choice but to open Garrett's present as he watched her with eager eyes. When the gift box was open, Violet's assistants, Tate and Priya, widened their eyes. Inside was a cream-colored skirt with an underskirt of sky blue. There was a matching sweater with cream embroidery on the sleeves. Both were clearly couture, given the designer names on the tags. Also in the box was a matching sky blue Birkin bag. Tate, who was a bit of a fashionista, upon seeing the gifts, quietly told Violet that the bag was one of a kind and must have been custom-made to match her outfit. Oh, Garrett, everything is so beautiful, but I can't accept these things. They're much too extravagant. Violet was even more anxious. The gift was too personal. What was Garrett trying to accomplish? Violet felt that if she accepted the clothes and the bag, she would somehow be encouraging him. She couldn't help but feel there might be strings attached to his gifts. Garrett looked at Tate and Priya reproachfully. I expect you two to convince Violet to accept my gifts. Priya was a bit stunned by the extravagant presents. She knew Logan wasn't going to like this. These gifts were way too intimate. Garrett was blurring the line between a personal and professional relationship. If this got out, Priya knew social media would go crazy, speculating about this latest development in Violet's love life. Violet herself was not active on social media. Her official Instagram account was managed by Lori Group's public relations department and consisted of press releases and publicity stills. Despite this, Violet had already accumulated a lot of fans and followers. Violet's new fans spent countless hours online speculating and gossiping about every aspect of her life. Some fans were anxiously awaiting the release of Violet's new music. Other followers spent hours in chat rooms obsessing over every new development in her legal battle with the Kingstons. Because of Violet's beauty, there were also fan accounts that posted pictures of her outfits and hairstyles, with advice and tutorials on how to look like her. But by far the largest and most active fan forums were the ones that speculated on Violet's love life. There were the fans who shipped Logan and Violet's office romance, of course. But then other shippers were desperate for Garrett and Violet to fall in love. Nostalgic shippers wanted Violet to get back together with her childhood sweetheart Lionel. There were even fans who shipped the friends to lovers scenario of Violet and her handsome lawyer, Noah. Every day, these shippers would argue endlessly online about which man was the other half of Violet's OTP. One true pair. Whenever Violet and one of the men were captured together, there would be exaggerated reports in the entertainment news that day. In the eyes of reporters, paparazzi, and her fans, Violet was like a socialite who was dealing with many successful men. She was beautiful and mesmerized the hearts of people. Garrett saw that Violet was hesitating to accept his gifts, and his eyes immediately became melancholic. He looked at her with a bit of disappointment. I had commissioned these items just for you. If you don't want them, then you can throw them away. Garrett picked up the gift box and pretended to head toward the trash can. No, don't throw them away. That is too wasteful. Priya and Tate protested in unison. The assistants looked at each other in shock. Would Garrett really throw out a custom Birkin bag? It was obvious that Garrett's interest in Violet went beyond that of the CEO and employee. Therefore, Priya was very worried about what Logan was going to think of this. Looking at the gorgeous items, Priya wondered if Violet would be able to remain firm in her refusal. After all, Logan could be grumpy and domineering. He was not like his brother Garrett, who was too good at pleasing women. If it was Priya, she would not be able to reject such an attentive and charming man. Priya shook herself. She had to remember that Corey had told her not to trust Garrett, that looks and charm could be deceiving. Priya immediately woke up and made sure to take in Garrett's every word and action to report back to her boss. When Garrett was about to throw out the gifts, Violet hurriedly caught hold of his sleeve to stop him. Violet was too practical to let him throw out such expensive items, but more importantly, she felt that she would hurt Garrett's feelings if she rejected his gifts. He'd clearly put a lot of thought into them, and she didn't want to stomp on his heart. She couldn't do such a thing. Violet had never given Garrett any indication that she was interested in him. She didn't want to encourage him, but Violet figured if she took his words at face value, she could accept the gifts as ones to an employee from a grateful boss. It's not a big deal, Violet. It's all from my own store. If Anna sees something she likes, she just takes it. You don't need to be so polite to me. Are we not friends? Garrett asked her with a smile. I am different from Anna, Violet told him. Anna and Garrett were childhood sweethearts, just like Violet and Lionel had been. To Violet, that put Anna in a different category than herself. The two had a history together, which would make Garrett's generosity to Anna natural. However, given that Violet did not have that same history with Garrett, the gifts made her uncomfortable. How are you different? Anna and I are just friends. Garrett calmly and clearly distanced himself from Anna, so there would be no confusion on Violet's part. Garrett didn't have any romantic feelings for Anna, and he didn't want Violet to think he did. Episode 261. Blurred Lines. Garrett looked at Violet and gave her his most charming smile. She was hesitating to accept the expensive gifts Garrett had custom-ordered for her as a surprise. Garrett was trying to convince her by reminding Violet that they were just friends, just like he and Anna were friends. Anna accepts gifts from my store all the time, and we are just friends. I wanted to do something special for you. Don't feel pressured. It's not like you stole something from me. I don't think that skirt would look very good on me anyway, Garrett teased. Garrett, don't joke with me. I feel really guilty. I haven't done anything yet to earn your gratitude. Violet's face turned red. It was true that Violet didn't feel like she'd earned Garrett's gifts, but what really concerned her was what would happen if she accepted them. She couldn't help but feel like his gifts came with some strings attached. Violet hadn't given Garrett any indication she was interested in him. But was he interested in her? His gifts blurred the line between a professional and personal relationship. Treat the gifts as a celebration of your acceptance of Jay's offer, as well as a token of appreciation from your boss. If it makes you feel better, I can start gifting Birkin bags to all my outstanding employees. Garrett grinned at Violet, and she couldn't help the small smile that appeared on her face. Sensing she was weakening, Garrett softened his smile and looked directly into Violet's eyes. I know that you can create stunning work under Jay's guidance. Isn't that reason enough to accept? If your work is good, we will all benefit, not only the Laurie Group, but also the Smith Group. Not to mention Jay's studio will become even more famous. Given all you're doing for us, my gift is probably not enough, he explained. Violet, you better take the gifts. I don't think he's giving up until you accept them. Since Garrett is giving it to you as the Laurie Group CEO, it seems like it's just a professional courtesy. Priya could tell Garrett wasn't going to give up until Violet accepted his presents. Since Garrett had told her they were gifts from a grateful boss, Priya didn't think Violet could refuse. In fact, now if anyone asked, Violet could use Garrett's own reasoning to justify the gift and clearly distinguish their relationship as employer and employee. Logan still wouldn't like it, and he wouldn't think the gifts were innocent, but at least if others found out, Violet had an excuse. Garrett looked at Priya and smiled. See, Priya agrees with me. Smart woman. Logan clearly sent over his best person to be your assistant, Violet, he remarked. Priya and Garrett smiled at each other, but it was clear to Priya that Garrett still didn't like or trust her, no matter what he said. He knew Priya was Logan's informant. Garrett knew every word he was saying to Violet would be reported to Logan, so he was being cautious. Now that that's settled, how are things going, Violet? Are you adapting to your new working environment? Garrett turned back to Violet and did not bother with Priya anymore. He only cared about Violet. With Priya and Tate's help, it is indeed much easier for me. Otherwise, I would forget a lot of things and get confused. Not to mention, I appreciate their company. The day passes very quickly. I'm never bored with so much to learn and do. Violet smiled in embarrassment. I heard that you used to work as the secretary to the Hall Group's director. Such a challenging job experience, and yet you still say that you're confused? Garrett looked at her with raised eyebrows. I'm really sorry that when you returned to Los Angeles, our company wasn't recruiting. Otherwise, you would definitely be a member of the Laurie Group now, he told her. Perhaps this is the fate between you and the Smith Group, Violet smiled. But now you have become my boss. I believe that our working relationship will be very pleasant, she replied. Of course. Garrett pursed his lips and nodded with a smile. no matter what your relationship with my brother is, please believe that I have always admired you," he added. Violet nodded. Their eyes met. Garrett's eyes were deep and passionate, but Violet's didn't waver. She looked at him calmly and said with a polite smile, "Well, I best get to my voice lesson. Thank you for the gifts." There was not the slightest bit of intimacy in Violet's demeanor. Garrett was a little disappointed. He originally thought that Violet, who seemed so innocent, would fall easily into his sweet trap like Anna. But looking at her expression, there was not the slightest bit of shyness. Did she really only think of him as her boss? Ordinary women would find it hard to reject him, but this Violet was not ordinary. He would need to take things slowly with Violet. Garrett reminded himself to enjoy the challenge. The reward would be so much sweeter for having been earned. Haley was finishing up some work when Garrett called her. He told her that Violet was settling in, but also asked her to visit Violet at the studio when she had time. Haley thought it was very considerate of her boss to look out for her friend. She remembered that she saw someone online saying that Garrett could not be compared to Logan. Haley's temper flared up. She opened her laptop and logged into her anonymous "Violet Kingston is my queen" account. She entered a chat about Violet's love life and saw some people discussing Violet and Noah. Haley frowned, then typed, "Forget about Noah. How can Garrett be inferior to Logan? Violet gave birth to his 2 children, and he won't even defend her to his own family. I heard she's not even allowed into the Alexander mansion." When Haley said this, some people expressed their agreement, but others objected. "Forget Noah. No way. I'm totally shipping Noah and Violet these days. She needs to be with someone real. Noah runs his own business and earns a lot. He also has more time to take Violet out on dates. I bet he'd be the kind of guy to buy her flowers just because." Haley typed, "Dates? Noah and Violet are just friends." Haley saw a flurry of replies appear in her feed. "Yeah, and everyone used to say that Violet was just Logan's secretary too. Hey, Violet Kingston is my queen. You sound jealous of Violet. I love a guy in glasses. Noah is dreamy. I'm a Noah and Violet shipper for sure. Hey, don't forget Lionel. He wears glasses too. I think all of Violet's men are hot, but the brothers are my favorites. Garrett and Logan are better looking than celebrities." Haley's comments stirred up a very lively discussion. Everyone had opinions on which of Violet's suitors was their favorite. Haley was silent behind the computer. She was used to all the comments about Logan and Garrett, and even Lionel, but she had never seen such die-hard Noah and Violet shippers online before. Haley was feeling insecure as she logged off. For the first time, she wondered if Noah could be interested in Violet. Noah had gone to the Golden Foundation to discuss the details of the court session next week. At around 10 o'clock that night, Noah returned to his office to pick up some documents he would need for an early client meeting the next day. While Noah waited for the elevator, Logan called him and invited him to his birthday dinner at the old residence on Friday. "It's at the old residence?" Noah vaguely remembered that Logan's birthday was at the beginning of winter, but this was the first time Logan had ever invited Noah to celebrate it with him. It was at the old residence, which was a little grand for Noah's tastes. "What about Violet?" Noah asked. "Of course Violet is going." Logan frowned at the question. "And is your grandmother okay with that?" Noah couldn't hide the surprise in his voice. Episode 262, Bump in the Night. Noah was on his way to his office to pick up some documents when Logan called to invite him to his birthday dinner. Noah had been shocked when Logan said Violet would be attending the party, hosted by Agnes at her home. "Your grandmother is okay with Violet coming to dinner?" Noah asked Logan in surprise as he entered the elevator. "I thought Violet wasn't allowed inside the old residence." Noah hit the button for his floor, and the doors closed. I don't need my grandmother's permission to invite Violet to dinner. She's not only the children's mother, but my woman, and I'm the head of the Alexander family. I want Violet there, so she's coming. I've already asked Violet, and she's accepted. Logan scowled at the phone. The elevator binged. Noah exited and walked towards his office door. All right, I'll be there. Since Violet was going, Noah had to go. He knew Violet was going to need reinforcements if she was dining with Agnes. Noah couldn't let Violet enter the Alexander mansion without backup. If something happened, he needed to be there to help her. He hung up with Logan. It was getting late, so Noah made a mental note to call Violet tomorrow. He wanted to see what was going on with her and what she thought about Logan's birthday dinner. Noah held his phone and briefcase in one hand and his keys in the other hand to unlock the door. Suddenly, Noah found himself slammed against the wall. He felt a burst of pain explode along his left side, and he dropped his phone and briefcase. Noah looked up just in time to see the back of a skinny man in a baseball cap as he burst through the stairwell and rushed down the stairs. In shock, Noah quickly unlocked his office door, grabbed his briefcase and phone. Once inside, Noah slammed and locked the door, then slumped against it. Noah was a little anxious, and his shoulder was killing him, but he was also relieved. The Kingstons had finally taken the bait. Noah had let it slip some time ago that he kept all his confidential documents and evidence locked in his office safe. Could the skinny man have been someone hired by the Kingston family, the Rutherford family, or some other player? It seemed like Miranda was growing very nervous about Violet's lawsuit. The first court hearing was next week. Noah was confident that Violet would be able to regain her shares of the Kingston group. But if Violet, Miranda, and Charles had to manage the Kingston group together, it was hard to guarantee that they would not cause trouble for Violet. Noah knew that after regaining Violet's shares, the next step would be to find evidence of what Miranda and Charles had done to Kenneth Kingston. Once proof of their crime was made public, the Kingstons would never be able to challenge Violet again. Noah rubbed his sore shoulder as he picked up the phone on the receptionist's desk to call building security. Noah needed to access any footage of the incident, captured by the hallway surveillance cameras. Perhaps the skinny man's face had been caught on camera. There were a lot of confidential documents relating to not only Violet's case, but other cases stored in his office. Noah would need to ensure that nothing had been stolen. When Elizabeth arrived home, Miranda had not yet returned. Recently, the house was filled with miasma, and the housekeeper was not doing her best. The living room was a mess. The housekeeper helped Elizabeth with her coat and asked her if she wanted anything to eat. "My mother isn't home yet," Elizabeth asked the woman. Miranda had been out so late these past few days, Elizabeth hadn't even seen her. What was her mother doing all day? Had she figured out what to do about her father's mistress and bastard? Elizabeth felt increasingly like her once seemingly omnipotent mother was now afraid of the consequences of her own actions. "Maybe Mrs. Kingston went to the hospital to see Miss Chloe," the housekeeper replied with a disinterested shrug. Although the Kingstons were rarely home these days, the housekeeper was ready to quit. The Kingston family was hard to serve at any time, but with their current public dramas, she was growing increasingly worried that she would not be paid on time, or at all. Elizabeth called her mother. Miranda finally found the time to go to the hospital, but the main reason wasn't to visit Chloe, but to talk to Lionel about Charles. "It looks like the Kingston mansion is going to sell quickly," Miranda told Lionel. "When the time comes to move, we will take the money and buy a new house. We will move into the house on Granite Drive first. It will be bigger there," she informed him. "Charles has agreed to this?" Lionel asked. In the end, Charles was the one who was actually a Kingston by blood, so there were many things that Miranda and Lionel couldn't do without him. "He was the one who wanted to sell the mansion in the first place. We just need the buyer. Charles wants to run off and live with his mistress, so the proceeds from the sale of the house should naturally be ours. He's the one leaving. Lionel, you are a man too. Don't tell me you're on Charles's side." Miranda looked at her future son-in-law skeptically. Miranda needed Lionel now more than ever. He was smart and should know what to do. Lionel looked at Miranda, then at Chloe lying in the hospital bed, then told her no, that he was on their side. After Chloe was transferred to the psychiatric hospital, her mental state became even worse. She had still not gotten over her failed plots against Violet. Instead, Chloe's hatred for her cousin only deepened. She believed Violet had cut Chloe and Elizabeth off from what was rightfully theirs starting at a young age, and that her cousin continued to torment them today. As far as Chloe was concerned, all her problems led back to Violet. When Elizabeth called Miranda, she could hear Chloe throwing a tantrum in the background. She heard Lionel trying to gently persuade her sister to calm down. Elizabeth was immediately exasperated when she overheard this. "Mother, tell Lionel to come home and rest. Isn't there a nurse that can sit with Chloe? If one isn't enough, then hire 2 nurses. This is a waste of his time and talent. Lionel shouldn't be spending his days playing nursemaid to Chloe. He should be at work, helping run the company," she muttered. Elizabeth didn't know why, but she suddenly really wanted to see Lionel's face. She didn't want to go to the hospital to see him with Chloe, though. She wanted Lionel to come home. "I don't think your sister will allow that." Miranda glanced at Chloe. "Let me talk to her. Give Chloe the phone," Elizabeth huffed. Miranda didn't want to give Chloe the phone because she was afraid that Elizabeth would say something that would aggravate her. But when Chloe heard that her sister wanted to talk to her, she told Lionel to go and get Miranda's phone. Lionel took the phone and greeted Elizabeth. "Everyone is at the hospital with Chloe. No one cares about our home or business anymore. When I return to the mansion, no one is ever home. Aren't you worried about me, Lionel?" Elizabeth complained, with a coquettish pout in her voice. Lionel suddenly felt that he had indeed neglected his future sister-in-law. After all, Elizabeth was a big star with pressures of her own. The situation with Logan and Violet must be very hard on Elizabeth, and she needed someone to comfort her. "You're right, Elizabeth. I've neglected you. As soon as I can get away, I will come and see you. I'll even take you to dinner. Anywhere you want to go. My treat." He hurriedly apologized in a soft voice. "Thank you, Lionel," Elizabeth told him sweetly. Elizabeth didn't care about going out to eat. She just wanted to spend time with Lionel. She liked chatting with him, and he was always very accommodating and sweet to her. Elizabeth told herself that before Chloe and Lionel got married, it was her responsibility to keep an eye on Lionel, as Chloe's sister. She couldn't allow Violet to steal him away as well. "How long are you going to make me wait, Lionel? You're not going to leave me alone in this big house again, are you?" Elizabeth asked him flirtatiously. But it wasn't Lionel who answered her. It was Chloe. "What are you two talking about? Are you flirting with my fiancé, Elizabeth?" Chloe questioned her in disbelief. Episode 263, Like Brother and Sister. Elizabeth didn't panic when Chloe accused her of flirting with Lionel. She soothed Chloe. "What are you talking about? Don't be silly. We're like brother and sister. We weren't flirting. We're family. Don't you want us to get along?" Elizabeth let out a little laugh to show Chloe how absurd she thought her accusation was. Chloe was quite sensitive and was always on guard against someone trying to steal Lionel from her. Elizabeth didn't know how Lionel tolerated Chloe's constant jealous accusations, and now she was even accusing Elizabeth of flirting with him. As far as Elizabeth was concerned, Chloe should be proud that Lionel was so popular and cherish him. But Elizabeth knew that Chloe was insecure because she had been able to steal Lionel away from Violet. She was worried that Lionel would also abandon her for another woman. It probably didn't help that Chloe had lost Lionel's baby because of her bad planning. Thinking of the child Lionel and Chloe had lost, Elizabeth suddenly had an idea. Smiling to herself, Elizabeth couldn't help the shiver of excitement that went through her. Her plan was perfect. First, she had to get Lionel to leave the hospital and come home to rest, though. She didn't know if Chloe would go crazy again and not let Lionel leave her side. Chloe's tone had softened when she replied to Elizabeth. "That's true. You are my sister. You've always been good to me. Our relationship is the best. I feel like you and Mother are the only ones I can rely on. Other than Lionel, of course." Chloe smiled in embarrassment and secretly looked up at Lionel to ensure he didn't seem angry. She had been throwing a tantrum, and she didn't want Lionel to dislike her. Chloe had been worried about the relationship between Lionel and Elizabeth ever since she had woken up in the hospital and seen them sitting close together, holding hands. She was concerned that Lionel would fall in love with Elizabeth. Chloe knew she wasn't as pretty or as charming as her famous sister. Ever since she had stolen Lionel away from Violet, Chloe was worried another woman would steal Lionel away from her. However, from what Elizabeth had said, their relationship was just an innocent one between family members. After all, Lionel had known Elizabeth as long as he'd known her. They'd all grown up together. Elizabeth was replying to Chloe on the phone. "Yes, I will always have your back. What are you worried about? You have a good man like Lionel standing by you. It is only right that you focus on recovering quickly. Otherwise, it would be a waste of Lionel's hard work and dedication to you." She placated her. "Yes, you're right. I need to work on getting better," Chloe told her sister before her face changed to a scowl. "Seriously, if it wasn't for Violet, I wouldn't even be here. I can't let her win." Chloe grew agitated and distracted again with thoughts of Violet, and her face flushed an angry red. "Good. I'm glad to hear it. Now, recover quickly, Chloe. We still have a tough battle ahead," Elizabeth told her. Elizabeth is right. Miranda, who had been listening to her daughter's conversation, expressed agreement when she heard this. Miranda glanced at her watch and realized she needed to leave now, or she would be late. She had an appointment to discuss matters with someone. Miranda estimated that she wouldn't be home before dawn, so she told Elizabeth not to wait up for her. After that, Miranda grabbed her purse and left the hospital, catching a cab to her destination. After her mother left, Chloe whined to Lionel, "My mom is so biased. She only worries about Elizabeth." "There's no other way. Elizabeth is vital to our family's future. Otherwise, do you want to go back to the past?" Lionel tried to soothe her. "How can you say that, Lionel?" Chloe started to raise her voice, frustrated. "The only reason our family has been able to achieve what they have is because of your hard work. Why should Elizabeth get all the credit?" she muttered. "My achievements are nothing compared to Logan's. I know you are speaking up for me, but compared to Logan, what I have is still too little." Lionel seemed extremely humble, which made Chloe feel even more indignant for him. He was the man she loved, and Chloe needed to help him. "How about this? You don't have to stay here with me tonight," Chloe offered. "Go and get some rest. There's nothing much to do here anyway. Go home and discuss the next steps with my sister. Previously, Elizabeth told me that she wanted to get rid of Violet's lawyer, Noah. She thought that he was getting too close to the truth. I don't know how she is progressing. Why don't you ask her?" she suggested. "Why can't I just call her?" Lionel seemed very unwilling to leave her, so Chloe was relieved. Lionel clearly didn't have any thoughts about Elizabeth and just treated her like his younger sister. "No, it's too important to be discussed over the phone. You should go home. When I'm discharged from the hospital, you will be able to spend more time with me. When that time comes, we'll be so happy together, Lionel. Promise me that you will protect the Kingston group." Chloe reached to clasp his hands in hers. "I want to protect the Kingston group, but those old fools have already asked Violet to return to the company. First, she will be an honorary director, and then slowly, I think they would want her to take over the whole Kingston group. I'm afraid that my position will not be guaranteed at that time," Lionel told her glumly. "Then what should we do? We just We can't just let Violet do what she wants, she asked. What can we do, Chloe? Your parents are so distracted by personal matters that they aren't paying attention to business, and I don't have the power to speak for them. What do you want me to do? Lionel was very disappointed. He really regarded Kingston Group as his own business. Then take advantage of the fact that my mother is still in power and let her elevate your position. Violet can be the honorary director, so you take over my mother's position. I will tell my mom to turn over power to you. Chloe thought they might as well let Lionel take over Miranda's position since her mother had lost face with the board. Seems my fiancé is very smart. You understand the company quite well, Lionel smiled. Just promise me, Lionel, that when you are in power, that you will make Violet suffer a worse fate than death. I want her to receive the appropriate punishment for the loss of our child. Chloe gripped him harder as she spoke. Leave Violet to me. No matter what, I promise I will not let Violet be with Logan. Logan is Elizabeth's, he assured. Yes, Logan is Elizabeth's, and you are mine. Chloe snuggled into Lionel's arms with a satisfied expression on her face. She imagined Lionel ascending to a lofty position and managing the Kingston Group together with her mother and Elizabeth. As for Violet, Chloe would definitely avenge the death of her unborn child. Chloe would make Violet wish she were dead. That was the outcome she deserved. It would be best if Violet disappeared immediately, and they would also have to get rid of the children. Violet's two little bastards weren't worthy to inherit the Alexander family fortune. In the future, Elizabeth would give birth to Logan's child. Their child would be the heir of the Alexander family. Chloe lowered her head and didn't reveal the viciousness in her eyes. She was afraid of ruining her image in Lionel's mind. Episode 264. Expectant. Lionel promised to help Chloe take revenge on Violet, but he had no plans to do so. He just had to keep Chloe close and satisfied, as she was the key to his plans. I know. Shh. Lionel stroked Chloe's hair, trying to soothe her, as he listened to her complain about Violet. Chloe was going to ask her mother to step down and let Lionel take over Miranda's position at the Kingston Group. With more power, he'd have more control of his future. Even if Violet won the lawsuit and entered the Kingston Group, it would only benefit him. Lionel knew proximity could breed intimacy. If he was able to see Violet every day at work, he knew he could turn back time and win Violet over. Plus, Logan wouldn't be able to handle Violet and Lionel spending so much time together, which would lead to conflict in their relationship. Then, when the time was right, they would execute the Gardner family's plan. Logan would be put in his place, and Violet would finally be Lionel's once again. Obtaining Violet was as important to Lionel as obtaining the Kingston Group. As long as he managed it well, the Kingston Group would once again become a powerful and respected family. Chloe would be forgotten, and Lionel's relationship with Violet would return to what it was years ago. Kenneth Kingston had also said that he wanted a grandson-in-law who could help Violet manage the business. Lionel thought confidently that there was no one better to run the Kingston family than him. As for Logan, Violet would soon forget about him. As long as Violet was loyal, Lionel would forget about her past transgressions with Logan. Elizabeth waited anxiously at home for nearly an hour before she heard the sound of the garage door opening. Lionel was home. She had already taken a shower and changed into more comfortable clothes. Elizabeth had a fitted tank on with a long cardigan loosely belted around her waist. Her sleep shorts just barely peeked out of the bottom of the cardigan, putting her legs on display. She had piled her hair on top of her head in a seemingly casual messy bun, with loose curls escaping around her face. Elizabeth knew she looked good. It was not like Lionel had never seen Elizabeth dressed like this before. But today felt different. She was inexplicably excited and expectant. "You're home, Lionel. It's so good to see you," Elizabeth said sweetly as she rose from the couch to greet him. Lionel thought Elizabeth was different from Chloe and Violet. She was very charming and refined. Chloe was too arrogant and fierce, and Violet was too gentle and soft. But Elizabeth was just right. She was a very suitable wife candidate. Lionel didn't understand why Logan didn't want her. Instead, he only had eyes for Violet. "Why aren't you asleep yet? I hope you didn't wait up for me. You need your rest." Lionel put his hand on Elizabeth's shoulder. Since their time at the hospital together after Chloe's attack, they had become much closer. They were like brother and sister. Since they were like family, Lionel felt there was no need to avoid arousing suspicion. Lionel was very calm as he greeted Elizabeth. Elizabeth, however, did not feel calm. She felt like the skin on her shoulder was burning through her sweater where Lionel touched her. She felt hot, making her heart beat faster. "I need to talk to you, Lionel," Elizabeth told him with a worried expression. "Do you remember our former butler, George?" Elizabeth asked. "Sure, I remember him. Didn't he move back to his hometown?" As for why George went back to his hometown, Lionel didn't say aloud, and Elizabeth didn't say it aloud. But each knew what the other was thinking. "George has returned to Los Angeles. When my mother heard the news, she took action. But unfortunately, he survived his accident. He's now in a coma, but the doctors say he may wake up," Elizabeth told him fearfully. "Elizabeth, you should not trouble yourself with these things. Let me, as your future brother-in-law, handle these matters for you." Lionel pulled Elizabeth into a hug and stroked her hair to soothe her. Lionel's tone was protective and affectionate. "But I don't want to trouble you. I'm afraid you will grow tired of me, as Logan has," Elizabeth said with a pout. "Don't say that. Logan won't like you talking like that either." "I could never grow tired of you," he told her. "Then I don't need to pretend in front of you, Lionel. Anyway, you know why I chased Logan. It's because of Mommy's instructions. Actually, I just want to be with someone I really like." Elizabeth looked directly into Lionel's eyes. "Of course, I know that. You do it for this family, for the Kingston group." As for the person Elizabeth really liked, Lionel didn't say anything. He felt that Elizabeth had changed a lot recently, especially her attitude towards him. He was curious to see what she wanted to do. "Lionel, do you want your own child?" "Yes, of course." Miranda said that she will think of a way. Lionel frowned. Although he hadn't wished his child ill, Lionel didn't tell Elizabeth that the loss of his unborn child made things easier on him. Lionel would no longer have a permanent tie to Chloe to worry about. No one knew he felt this way. Well, maybe Garrett knew. That guy really knew too much. "What can she do other than have Nora or Paige carry your baby?" Elizabeth curled her lips. She knew her two cousins wanted to marry rich men and would be happy to do anything to make that happen, even giving birth to a child for Lionel. "What? That's crazy!" Lionel was shocked. "Am I no better to your mother than a sperm bank? Does Miranda want to put me out to stud? Could it be that the meaning of his existence was to bring an heir to the Kingston family?" "Lionel, I also think that this is crazy, but now listen to me, seriously. I have an idea. I think we might be able to help each other." "Tell me, Elizabeth. As long as I can help, I will." Lionel pushed one of Elizabeth's loose curls behind her ear. When his fingertips brushed her ear, Elizabeth's face heated. Lionel's fingers gently stroked Elizabeth's shoulder. His touch caused her body to tremble slightly. It had been a long time since Elizabeth had such intimate contact with a man. Besides, right now, she urgently needed a child. She needed a man to plant a burning seed in her body. Elizabeth inched closer to Lionel and told him in detail about her plan with Philly, Lionel listened as Elizabeth explained that nothing had happened between her and Logan in the hotel room. It was just an illusion she and Philly created, but it was enough. This was the effect Elizabeth wanted. She wanted Logan to doubt himself so that it would cause problems in his relationship with Violet. Elizabeth had retreated in order to advance. Whether it was real or fake, it didn't matter. Logan was only knocked out for a short time, and Elizabeth was afraid that he would immediately take measures against her when he woke up. This way, even if Logan wanted to do something, he wouldn't be able to, because there was no conclusive evidence. Then later, once things were going badly with Violet, Elizabeth would tell Logan that she was pregnant. I mean, what man would reject a woman who was carrying his child and only wished to be by his side? Elizabeth concluded. She had been watching the surprise grow on Lionel's face as she told him what she'd done. He looked stunned, but not angry. There's only one problem with my plan. I need to get pregnant as soon as possible. Philly had originally planned to hook me up with a man she knows, but at the last minute, I realized I couldn't do it. I couldn't accept some random man as the father of my child. Elizabeth took a deep breath, then continued. That's why I need you to get me pregnant, Lionel. I want you to be the father of my child, she announced. Lionel was dumbfounded hearing Elizabeth's plan and his role in it. Episode 265. Just Because. Elizabeth was watching Lionel's reaction closely. They were standing close together, and she had just revealed how she had tricked Logan into thinking they had sex and now needed to get pregnant. It has to be you, Lionel. It's the perfect solution. You get the child Chloe can't give you, and once Logan finds out I'm pregnant, I get Logan. We both win, Elizabeth told him earnestly. Lionel was speechless. When Elizabeth had told him she wanted Lionel to get her pregnant, he'd felt a rush of desire. He couldn't deny his attraction to Elizabeth, and she was giving him an open invitation. Could he do it? Lionel and Elizabeth were standing close together. His hand was resting on her shoulder. He could smell the strawberry scent of her shampoo, and his hand suddenly itched to bury itself in her hair. Seeing the heated, but still hesitant look in Lionel's eyes, Elizabeth moved even closer to him until they were mere centimeters between them. She stood on her toes as she reached up and wrapped her arms around his neck. He could feel Elizabeth's breath on his lips as she begged him softly, Please, Lionel, I don't want anyone else to get me pregnant, but you. There was only so much a man could take. With a groan, Lionel closed the distance between them and kissed her. That night, Logan arrived home from work early. He was pleased to see that Violet was already home from the studio. When he got out of the car in the courtyard, Violet was waiting outside to welcome him. I'm so glad you're home early. Zoe has been giving me a cooking lesson. I can't wait for you to try what I've made you for dinner. Violet gave Logan her most brilliant smile. You cooked for me? Logan asked her in surprise as he set down his briefcase. What have I done to deserve your sudden attentiveness? Logan tilted his head to one side, studying her. Then he suddenly straightened and folded his arms across his chest. What do you want, Violet? Spit it out. He looked at her expectantly. Why must you be so suspicious? Can't I do something nice for you just because? Seriously, no matter what thoughts she had, Logan saw through her with a glance. In front of this man, she simply had no secrets to speak of. Yes, you could do something nice just because, but that's not what you're doing. You're doing something nice because you want something, he remarked. Violet ignored him and tried to change the subject. Was work busy? Are you tired? Yes, it was, and no, I'm not, Logan replied. Now tell me what you want, Violet. He asked her again. Violet threw her hands up in the air. Can't you just pretend for a while? Don't you get tired of being so smart? He whined. Pretend what? Logan laughed. He knew Violet was up to something. She was right. He was smart. Logan was very good at reading people, a talent of his Violet didn't seem to appreciate right now. However, he was enjoying her attitude tonight, so he decided to cooperate and smiled at her. Violet rolled her eyes. Pretend that you don't suspect anything. Violet turned, but as she started to walk towards the living room, she looked back over her shoulder. Play along, or you won't be getting anything good to eat. As Logan started to follow her, he had this inexplicable feeling of familiarity come over him. It was as if this moment had happened before. He shook off the feeling. That was impossible. It must be because he was hungry. Coming up behind Violet, Logan whispered in her ear, "Does it taste as good as it looks?" "It tastes better," Violet blurted out, and then clamped her hand over her mouth. Logan burst out laughing. She bit her lips and stomped her feet. This man was so bad. It was as if she had returned to the days of bickering with Logan at the office. Her face was extremely red. She gave Logan a fierce glare and hurried into the living room. Logan followed behind her, still laughing. He was in a very good mood. Dinner was almost ready. Logan washed his face and hands and prepared to eat. Violet went into the kitchen with Zoe to help. Lee had gone to the old residence for dinner, so Violet had taken the opportunity for a cooking lesson. Today, Zoe had taught her how to make caprese salad and manicotti. "Did you wash your hands?" Violet asked Logan as he prepared to take his seat. She was used to asking Adam and Amy this, and she said it out of habit. "You have to care about this too?" Logan raised his eyebrows. "Do you think I'm a child?" he asked. "It would be great if you were as obedient as one." Violet wrinkled her nose. "Oh, I see that you have grown bolder and bolder recently. You actually dared to scold me, Miss Kingston." When Violet wrinkled her nose, she looked innocent. Looking at her big eyes and rosy cheeks, Logan thought she looked even cuter than usual. He thought, not for the first time, what a good decision it had been to bring her into his home. "I'm the child? Only a child would do that." Logan imitated her and wrinkled his nose. "Stop teasing me. Are you going to taste my cooking or not?" "I'm waiting." Violet looked at Logan expectantly, her hand on her hip. "First, tell me how your day went. Did your voice training with Jay go smoothly?" Under Violet's watchful gaze, Logan picked up his fork and put a bite into his mouth. "Work is pretty good. Everything is going well. Now pay attention to what you're eating. I'm still waiting for your verdict." Violet didn't tell Logan how often Garrett came to visit her. That would just be asking for trouble. "It's actually not bad," Logan smiled. "I'd even go so far as saying it's delicious." "Tell me, what kind of reward do you want?" he asked her. "The reward should be given to Zoe since she is my teacher," Violet told him. Zoe smiled as she placed the manicotti on the table. "There will be a reward for Zoe too. Right now, I want to know what you want, Violet," Logan said meaningfully as he took a bite of the manicotti. "Tell me." Logan looked at Violet seriously. "You should finish eating first. I will tell you later, okay?" It was rare that the atmosphere between them was this light-hearted. Violet didn't want to ruin it. She knew Logan was likely to be unhappy when Violet told him that she didn't want to go to the old residence to celebrate his birthday. Sure enough, when they went upstairs and Violet finally told Logan what she wanted, he immediately scowled. "What?" Logan exploded. "You won't listen to anything I say now? Don't forget the agreement between us. This is not an open discussion." Now that he mentioned it, Violet often forgot about their agreement. Living with Logan, she had not only grown more comfortable challenging him, but she'd also developed a thicker skin. "But I want to discuss it with you. You know that your grandmother doesn't like me," she began to negotiate. "I invited Noah. He has already agreed to come. I will also call Haley personally to invite her." Logan threw out his ultimate trump cards. "Noah agreed?" Violet hesitated. If she was with Noah and Haley, even if Agnes didn't like her, she would still care about the Alexander family's reputation. Violet didn't think Agnes would express her anger in front of her friends. However, Violet was still worried that if she stepped into the Alexander family's old residence, it would look as if she had gone back on her word. She didn't want to risk Agnes blocking her from seeing the children. Violet still wanted to argue, but it was obvious that Logan had already seen through her thoughts. Taking her hand, Logan reined in his temper. I know what you're thinking. I promise you that I will not let this impact your ability to see the children in the future. You're going to have to trust me, Violet, he gently told her. There were still doubts in Violet's mind, but she wanted to believe him. Episode 266. Reply All. Logan was holding Violet's hand and watching her closely. He could tell she was still unsure. You'll understand when the time comes. I promise you. When I bring you to the old residence, grandmother will be happy and quite cooperative. If you don't believe me, let's bet on it. Logan seemed very sure of himself. There was a smile on his face. Violet wanted to believe him. Violet didn't want to have to prove to anyone that she was a good person. She had given up on having a good reputation long ago. Violet hadn't thought of marrying anyone since Lionel had abandoned her. She and Logan were only contract lovers, so Agnes didn't have anything to worry about. Violet was frankly surprised that Agnes hadn't tried to bribe her to leave. She wondered what she would do if Agnes handed her a huge check. Would Violet be like some heroine in a romance novel and rip it up and refuse? Or would she take the money and run, since Logan planned on leaving her one day anyway? The latter thought made her inexplicably sad, and Violet pushed it out of her mind. In the end, no matter how bad Logan's temper was, no matter how much he liked to torture people, Logan always kept his word. So since Logan said he wanted her to attend and that he would protect her, Violet would go and try her best. Okay, fine, Violet conceded. I'll go, as long as you can assure me that I can still see Adam and Amy, no matter what happens, she demanded. Deal. Logan smiled at her, looking very pleased. And so you know, I'm planning to bring Adam and Amy back to stay with us here a few days after the party, he added. Violet's mood instantly improved when Logan said this. She couldn't wait to spend time with the children. But for the record, I still don't think Agnes will be nice to me, Violet said. So what are we betting? I want to know what I get if I win. Violet folded her arms and looked at him. However, when Logan smiled sinfully, his eyes suddenly looked devilish. Logan thought maybe this was a bet she couldn't make. On the day of the party, Violet woke up, realizing that there was another important matter she had to deal with. What to buy Logan for his birthday? No matter how expensive the gift was, Logan might not be interested in it because no one was richer than the Alexanders. She'd heard a rumor that even Logan's watch was worth close to $1 million. Violet didn't have that kind of money. If Violet had anything valuable, it would be her shares at the Kingston Group. A portion of her shares had already been returned to Violet. Her lawsuit was to gain the other half of her grandfather's shares, which had been stolen by Miranda and Charles. Grandfather's will had said that when his shares of the Kingston Group were given to Violet, she could appoint a trusted person to help her manage them. She could choose a partner or an agent. Logan was obviously not Violet's partner. They weren't even in a real relationship. However, to Violet, Logan was something more than a partner or lover. He was the father of her children. If she gave a portion of her shares to Logan to manage, then even if something were to happen to her, Adam and Amy would be taken care of. Moreover, if she gifted him a portion of her shares, they would be transferred into Logan's name. With Logan around, No matter what kind of crisis the Kingston group faced in the future, he would be able to help them get through the crisis. Violet made up her mind. Violet went out in the afternoon. She had the habit of always telling the staff where she was going. But this time, she didn't. Zoe and Lee only knew Miss Kingston went out to do an errand, but they didn't know where exactly she went. She was not alone, though. Henry had driven her, so they figured Miss Kingston would be fine. Violet didn't pick up the phone when Logan called her, and he didn't know where she went. He called Jay, and he said that Violet hadn't been needed at the studio today, and even Priya didn't know where she was. Logan called Henry, but his driver wouldn't tell him anything. Henry only said that Miss Kingston was fine, but she had asked him to keep where she was a secret. Logan had no choice but to trust Henry to keep Violet safe and not let anything happen to her. Logan wasn't happy with Priya, which made Drake feel a little bad for her. In the afternoon, Drake asked Priya to get a coffee with him. They were dating, but both were so busy with work that they rarely had any extra time to spend together. But since Violet wasn't at the studio, Priya had the afternoon off. Even though he was busy, Drake snuck away to see her. They only had enough time to sit together and drink their coffee, so they used the short time they had to exchange gossip. Priya told Drake about how Garrett seemed interested in Violet and had bought her expensive gifts. She asked Drake to talk to Corey so he could tell Logan. Priya wanted Drake to tell them because she didn't want Violet to know she was reporting back to Logan. Logan said that I cannot let Violet find out. If I report everything in detail and then Logan calls out Violet, she will definitely know that I'm the one who told him. I don't want her to get mad at me. Priya knew Violet liked her, and she didn't want to jeopardize that. Yeah, I'll tell Corey. I can see your point about Violet. I don't think this is urgent anyways. Logan won't be happy about Garrett's attention. But just because Garrett is showing interest in Violet, it doesn't mean that Violet will show interest in him. Drake agreed with her. I heard Violet is going with Logan to his birthday dinner. I wonder what she's going to get him for his birthday. Priya shook her head. I mean, what do you buy a billionaire? Violet didn't ask me to help her shop or anything. I wanted to discuss this with her at work today, but then she didn't come into the studio, she stated. Drake had reason to suspect that Violet not being at work today had something to do with Logan's birthday, but he didn't tell Priya. It was just a hunch, and Drake couldn't begin to guess what Violet might buy Logan. Well, I'm sure I'll find out on Monday what Violet gave Logan. If she buys him a gift, we'll definitely hear all about it, Drake told Priya, then laughed. Much to his staff's secret amusement, Logan had this new habit of bragging about Violet. For example, last night Violet had personally cooked dinner for Logan. Today, almost everyone in the company knew about it. No one was gossiping. Logan himself had already told them. He'd only meant to tell Corey, but Logan had accidentally hit reply all on a message to Corey, and the entire senior staff had been copied. Violet has learned how to cook. The caprese salad and manicotti she made me last night were delicious. In the future, do not order these dishes for me under any circumstances. I only want to eat them if Violet makes them. L. The staff's reaction had been immediate. Everyone was in an uproar that their cold and arrogant boss apparently could show warmth and affection. Although Logan was trying to maintain his aloof demeanor, these little slip-ups made everyone realize that Violet was indeed different. Elizabeth had been lurking around the company for 4 years, but nothing like this had ever remotely happened. Logan's employees really didn't know if they should envy Violet or not, but they knew a happier boss meant a happier workplace, and for that reason alone, most of the Smith Group was now definitely Team Violet. Episode 267. Spying over Sushi. Logan's employees may have been slow to warm up to Violet when she first joined the Smith Group, but now that she seemed to make their boss happy, they were all on Team Violet. They could tell Violet was different in the way Logan went out of his way to brag about her. Plus, no one could ever remember Logan being in such a good mood before. Logan was very satisfied. So satisfied that he sent out an email dismissing his entire staff early. It was Friday and his birthday, and Logan was eager to start the weekend. He told everyone not to work overtime and to go enjoy themselves and relax. And as if that wasn't enough, the entire staff received a bonus for the week in honor of Logan's birthday. When Drake learned he was leaving early, he promptly called Priya and invited her out for sushi that evening. He wanted to treat her to a date night with his bonus from Logan. So, for the second time that day, the couple met up. Priya and Drake were digging into their sushi boat when Priya happened to look up in time to see a familiar face walk into the restaurant. Priya smacked Drake excitedly on the chest to get his attention. "Hey, look who just walked in," Priya whispered to him. No. Lower your head. Lower your head. She'll see you. Hurry up." Priya quickly lowered her head first, then urged Drake to duck his head as well. Although Drake didn't know what was going on, he still did as she said. Looking over at Priya's nervous excitement, the corner of his mouth twitched. "What are you doing? Why are we hiding? Who did you see?" he asked. "All right, now don't raise your head, but you can turn left at a 45-degree angle to look behind you." Priya lowered her voice, then lowered her head as well. Drake used one hand to block his eyes and looked across through the gap of his fingers. Miranda? Drake saw a graceful middle-aged woman. She was holding a platinum bag and walking towards the rear of the restaurant in high heels. She was quite elegant. After all, Miranda was a strong woman and had strict requirements for herself. The first thing she did was to maintain her good image. Even so, Charles still threw himself into the arms of his mistress. Drake shook his head. He did not like Miranda, but he still felt a little sorry for her. Charles was shameless. It was hard to imagine that he was Richard Kingston's older brother. There was no similarity between the two of them. There was a small private dining room in the back of the restaurant. It was used for business meetings or personal meetings that you didn't want anyone to see. What was Miranda doing here? Who was she meeting with? This aroused Drake and Priya's interest. She seems pretty put together, like she doesn't even care about Charles's affair. I heard that Charles is madly in love with his mistress. When Sylvia was recuperating in the hospital, there were bodyguards watching her room around the clock, Priya whispered. Is she better now? Drake asked. Priya nodded. Yes, she was discharged from the hospital. And I heard that their baby is fine as well, she informed him. Let's see if we can figure out who they're meeting. I've got some extra money from the boss burning a hole in my pocket. Drake flagged down a passing server. He spoke to her quietly. She nodded and walked off. While we wait, did you ever hear from Violet today? Don't mind Logan. I know he snapped at you earlier. He just gets grumpy when he doesn't know where Violet is. Personally, I think Violet was probably off preparing something for Logan's birthday, so I get why she didn't tell you. Drake knew Priya had been upset earlier, so he wanted to make sure his girlfriend was okay. Yeah, I know. I need to develop thicker skin, that's all. Of course, Logan's reaction today makes me worry about saying anything about Garrett. He keeps pestering Violet, and I still don't know if I should report it to Logan or not, Priya said, confused. As I said earlier, don't tell him yet. Take a look at the situation in a few days. Maybe Garrett is just concerned about his newest star. After all, Violet is the person that Jay hand-picked, so he'll definitely value her. I think he's also thinking about the Lori group. Don't be nervous. Violet should still have the freedom to talk to whoever she wants to. He placated her. Priya was no longer as anxious after being persuaded by Drake. Well, and I also don't want Violet to know that I'm talking to Logan. I think what you said makes sense. At that moment, the server returned. She spoke to Drake quietly. He thanked her and slipped the woman a bill before she walked away. Turning back to Priya. The waitress just told me there was a man in Miranda's room, Drake told her. Really? Priya was shocked. I wonder if it's business or pleasure. Drake shrugged. Could be either. Charles doesn't really go home anymore, I've heard, he stated. Do you think he's planning to divorce Miranda? Priya asked. Seems like it's headed that way. I mean, the mistress is pregnant with his son, not to mention she's younger and hotter and, not a shrew like Miranda, Drake said as he popped a piece of sushi in his mouth. I mean, Charles is no angel in all this, but I can't imagine being married to that woman. And besides, the whole Kingston family is nuts. It's horrible what they've done to Violet, he said. I still can't get over what Chloe tried to do to Violet in the hospital. It was simply too vicious. Chloe literally almost killed Violet, and then she got away with it. Priya got angry just thinking about it. Then everyone thought Chloe wasn't in her right mind, so there was nothing the police could do. They couldn't punish her because there was no evidence to prove that she did it on purpose, she added. It was fortunate that Mike and Logan thought of a way to stop Chloe, or else the consequences would have been unimaginable. I was so angry when that happened. Fortunately, Corey told Violet that Logan saved her later, or else all the credit would have gone to Lionel. Drake thought for a while, then flagged down their server again. He whispered a few words to her. Again? What are you doing now? Priya asked, confused. I asked her to see if she can overhear what Miranda is saying. If there's any useful information, we can report it to Logan. Drake was eager to help because he considered Violet a friend. She'd always been good to him, and he was also loyal to Logan. He wanted to help Logan and Violet in any way he could. Drake was rooting for their relationship to work, and he didn't want others interfering. The Kingston family has been too quiet. I'm sure they're up to something. Priya paused and sipped her drink, then grinned at him. At least you haven't had to deal with Elizabeth pestering Logan. Drake rolled his eyes. Seriously, that woman can just not take no for an answer. Even if Elizabeth didn't come to see him every day, she would still come every 2 or 3 days. She drove me crazy with all of her excuses to see Logan, he exclaimed. Logan has made it clear to the Kingston family that he's not marrying Elizabeth. But I have a feeling that the Kingston family won't let this matter go so easily, Priya said. You're not the only one who thinks that. I completely agree. Drake smiled coldly. Furthermore, I have a feeling that the Kingston family was completely clear about what happened 4 years ago. Logan feels that Elizabeth was used by her family to please him. But I think that the Kingston family did it on purpose, he remarked bluntly. How do you know so much? You must have talked to Corey. I want in on the gossip, Priya pouted. I just feel that what happened 4 years ago was not simple. Before Drake could finish speaking, the waitress returned. She lowered her head and whispered a few words to Drake. Thank you. Let me know if you hear anything else. I'll make it worth your while, Drake told the server as he handed her another folded bill. I think you're becoming more like Corey and Logan every day, Priya expressed as she smiled, seeing Drake's smooth moves. Episode 268. This is the truth. Shortly after their server left, she returned to whisper in Drake's ear. Priya and Drake had gone out for sushi, and they'd unexpectedly seen Miranda entering a private dining room with an unknown man. After listening to the waitress, Drake slipped her another bill. After she left, Drake turned back to Priya. Miranda and the man are very close, but our server doesn't think it's serious. What do you think is going on, Priya? He asked. This is so melodramatic. Do you think Miranda wants to take revenge on Charles? Priya speculated. Drake shrugged at her. Seems like the most likely possibility. Our waitress also said she overheard them discussing the Kingston family's old mansion and something about hospitals. Selling the mansion? Is Charles really going to ask Miranda for a divorce? Priya wondered aloud. Personally, I didn't think he had it in him to go up against Miranda. Charles lacks courage and is the very definition of henpecked. Drake shook his head. He wasn't impressed. Miranda runs that company. Charles is basically just a figurehead in the Kingston group, Drake remarked. Drake, you need to tell Corey and Logan about this. This information might be useful, Priya advised. Drake nodded his head in agreement. Yeah, I will. In the meantime, we can't let this opportunity go to waste. Drake saw the look of excitement on his girlfriend's face now. When she leaves, we should follow Miranda and see if we can figure out what she's up to. Maybe we'll discover something useful, she suggested. I've got an even better idea. You follow Miranda and I'll follow the man. If we split up, we have a better chance of learning what's going on. But you have to be careful, Priya, Drake warned her. If you see anything, remember to call me. Don't go all Nancy Drew again and try to figure things out on your own, he added. Priya rolled her eyes at him, but promised she would be careful. The two sat for a while longer until they saw the man walk out of Miranda's private dining room. Drake quickly picked up his phone and followed. His intuition told him that this man was up to no good. Priya sat sipping her drink until she saw Miranda leave the room, carrying a bag. Miranda glanced around and then went outside and got in her car. Priya quickly followed her out, hot on Miranda's trail. After Logan instructed Corey to get more information out of Chloe's attacker, John, Corey enlisted Mike to question the man. The information Mike got from his interrogation of John was indeed similar to what they had guessed. Chloe had plotted to take out both Violet and Charles's pregnant mistress. John told Mike nervously, I didn't know Chloe was pregnant. I thought she was Violet. I didn't mean to hurt the baby. I didn't even see all the blood. John knew he was now facing a murder charge for the death of Chloe's unborn child. You don't need to tell me the details. I know enough. Mike shook his head in disgust. If Chloe's plan had succeeded, and it had been Violet who had entered this man's hotel room, well, it was unthinkable. Logan probably would have lost his mind. Although his boss had never admitted it, Mike had been guarding Logan for a long time. He had spent thousands of hours following his boss around, and he knew that the way Logan looked at Violet was different. Mike suspected that Logan was indeed falling in love with Violet, whether he realized it yet or not. That was why Mike cared so much about Violet. He believed that protecting Violet was the same as protecting the boss's heart. John was nervous. This big guy, Mike, had pulled him out of his cell for questioning. He was obviously connected to someone powerful, but he wasn't with law enforcement. Who do you work for? John asked Mike. Are you working for the Kingston family? Someone else? To be able to question me inside the prison, you must work for pretty powerful people, he questioned. Mike looked at him coldly. Who I work for is not important. What's important is that you tell me exactly what happened. I need to know the sequence of events. You already told me the plan was Chloe Kingston's idea. Then why was she in the hotel room? Have you thought about it? I really have no idea why she came into the room. I was told the person I'd be dealing with was Violet Kingston. It was dark. I just saw a woman. I didn't know it was Chloe, John explained. Okay, I believe you really didn't know it was Chloe in the room. Mike eyed the criminal, then pulled out the chair opposite John. He sat on it backwards and leaned forward so he wouldn't be overheard by the prison guards outside the door. Mike spoke to John in a low voice. I want you to listen to me very carefully and remember what I say. Do you understand? John nodded nervously at Mike, but remained silent. From now on, if anyone asks, you did know it was Chloe in the room because she was the woman you were meeting. From now on, the woman you were having the affair with was, and always has been, Chloe Kingston. John widened his eyes. Was Mike asking him to lie You didn't know she was pregnant. All you know was that she asked you to meet up, and your encounter was too passionate and got out of hand. Mike continued to explain. I am not discussing this with you. I am informing you of what you already know. No one has asked you to say this. This is the truth. Got it? Do I have to say that? The man's mouth was hanging open. He really didn't understand why this guy wanted him to say this. John looked at the big man. Mike was tall and broad and clearly not someone to be trifled with. Mike wasn't joking, but dead serious. John still didn't quite understand why he wanted him to lie. But what's the difference? Both women are from the Kingston family. Why can't it be Violet in the room? John asked him tentatively. That is none of your concern. The only thing you need to know is that if you do as I say, your parents will be taken care of. They will be safe, and the people I work for will make sure that your old man gets the medical treatment he needs, he informed him. You will treat my old man. John was stunned. If this was true, John would say anything. As long as you treat my father's illness and get him the surgery he needs, I will do whatever you want me to do. I will kill whoever you want me to kill. John leaned forward anxiously. What are you talking about? We are law-abiding citizens, Mike informed John indignantly. Yes, of course, you are law-abiding citizens. Forget I said that. I was wrong. John quickly backtracked, lest Mike change his mind about helping his dad. What are you thinking? You don't need to do anything illegal. You just need to remember that the person you were meeting was Chloe Kingston. When you two were dating, Chloe tricked her father's mistress into coming to the hotel and slipped her a pill so she'd miscarry. Do you understand? I'm not forcing you to say anything. Got it? Mike looked at John with a meaningful look. But Chloe Kingston promised to give me money. John was still uncertain. If I say this, the Kingston family will take their anger out on my parents. They will be in danger. John was testing Mike. He already suspected who wanted to kill him. He just needed to make sure that this Mike guy wasn't working with them. Who do you think attacked you in prison? Mike looked at him coldly. Because it wasn't my employer, he revealed. No, it can't be. John was a bit shocked. It was one thing to suspect the truth, but it was another to truly know. He didn't expect the Kingston family to double-cross him. They were setting John up to take the fall, and as added insurance, they were trying to kill him, to shut him up. Episode 269. His Everything. John knew he had no other choice. He had to agree to Mike's terms. He would have to put his trust in this man and his mysterious employer, or risk being killed by the Kingston family. Now, you know what you have to do. This matter ends here. I will get the warden to move you into protective custody, and we'll arrange your plea deal with the district attorney. As for your parents, my employer will take care of their living and medical expenses. Do we have a deal? Mike asked. Yes, but who do you work for? John still felt a little uneasy. He didn't even know who Mike's employer was, and yet he was supposed to put his life and the life of his parents in this person's hands. You don't need to worry about that. As long as you trust me and do as I say, you will live well in prison, and your parents will also live well outside. But if you dare to go against me, well, let's not even worry about that. After all, you have no other choice, right? Mike looked at John coldly. John actually trembled a little. I will definitely do as you say. Believe me, I will do as you say. John swore. John had no doubt that Mike's employer had the ability to either save or destroy his family. He didn't care about anything else. As long as these people could cure his old man, John would say whatever they wanted to him and go to jail for the rest of his life, happily. Mike immediately ordered someone to arrange for John's father to be moved to Central Hospital. John saw that Mike already knew the address of his house and even knew what kind of illness his old man had. John was instantly convinced and now didn't have even the slightest bit of doubt as to Mike's abilities to do what he said he would. "I know that you have the ability to protect my parents, but you still need to be careful of Max Rutherford. He has many eyes and ears in this city. If you accidentally leak news of my father, I'm afraid that he will take revenge," he cautioned. It seemed that Max Rutherford was involved in the cover-up of Chloe's actions. "Don't worry. My employer's reach extends further than Max Rutherford's. We will arrange for your parents to visit when your father recovers." Mike pulled out a ring to show John. "In the meantime, take a closer look. If someone shows you a ring like this, cooperate. They're working with me. Do as I have explained today, or I won't be able to help you." Mike warned him again. "Yes, I will. I'll definitely remember," John promised as Mike knocked on the door for the prison guard to let him out of the interrogation room. Since Mike had promised, John was going to have to trust him. It seemed like Mike's employer was much stronger than the Kingston family. They didn't seem to even care about any threats from the Kingstons or Max Rutherford. That was good. John finally heaved a sigh of relief. John had agreed to lie to save his old man, but he was shameless anyway. It made no difference to him whether he said he went to meet Violet or lied and said he went to the hotel to hook up with Chloe. Chloe wanted to have him killed. As far as John was concerned, his loyalty was now to Mike and his mysterious employer. As soon as he finished with John, Mike reported back to Logan that John had agreed to the terms of their deal. John was on the way to the police station to confess and retract all of his previous statements. The district attorney had already drafted a plea deal that in exchange for John's guilty confession, the DA would take the death penalty off the table, and instead, John would get a sentence of life in prison without the chance of parole. John's father was being transferred by helicopter to Central Hospital and would be under personal care of Logan's friend, Dr. Mark Cooper. Logan thanked Mike, then called Corey to ask him to get in touch with the police chief and DA to ensure John's case was now closed. Logan didn't want the Kingston family to have any chance of getting to John. After hanging up with Corey, Logan leaned back in his office chair and propped his feet up on his desk. He took a sip of the coffee the office temp had just delivered. Although it wasn't as good as Violet's coffee, he had no choice but to drink it. Logan was relieved. This man would never dare to threaten Violet again. He dealt with John, not only to protect Violet physically, but also to protect her reputation. Logan was determined not to give his grandmother any more reasons to try to put distance between Logan and Violet. Logan had made up his mind. Violet was his. Grandmother was going to have to learn to accept her. The woman he'd thought he'd lost 4 years ago had miraculously reappeared. Logan used both persuasion and coercion to bring Violet to live in his home. Of course, it was not to keep a distance from her. He would never let Violet go. This woman was his everything. Miranda left the sushi restaurant and hopped on the freeway. Priya followed her for over an hour until Miranda finally stopped at a townhouse complex in the valley. Miranda wanted a divorce. She did not want to live her life with a man who was cheating on her with trash. But Miranda would not just walk away from her marriage quietly. She had the money and the power to make Charles pay. And that's what Miranda intended to do. Miranda wanted to leave Charles with nothing. Since he had brought them to the point of divorce, It was worth it for Miranda to ally herself with Garrett. Miranda needed to find a way to transfer the property of the Kingston Group over to the Laurie Group. She knew Lionel was also allied with Garrett and would help her. She would leave an empty shell for the Kingston family. Let Violet fight over the inheritance of nothing. As for the money from the sale of the Kingston family's mansion, Miranda had to get her hands on it. "What are you up to, Miranda?" Priya said under her breath as she followed Miranda at a safe distance. When Miranda parked her car on the street, Priya parked across the street, a block down. Miranda parked her car on the street, rather than in a garage or visitor parking. Priya figured this meant that she didn't want to be seen. What exactly was she doing here? Who had Miranda come to see? Was it a business or a private matter? Miranda got out of the car, put on her sunglasses, and wrapped a scarf around her neck, pulling it up to obscure her face. Because the weather was chilly and it was windy, this kind of dressing was not unexpected. As she walked, Miranda pretended to read her phone. Miranda had met a man today because she had actually discovered Charles's whereabouts. He'd moved out of the Kingston mansion, but Miranda hadn't known where he'd been staying. Charles had only told her he wanted a divorce and that he planned to sell the Kingston residence as soon as possible. He wanted to buy a brand new house for his mistress and their unborn brat. She was furious. If it wasn't for Miranda and her daughters, the Kingston Group would have gone bankrupt a long time ago. Since Charles was abandoning them, she had no sympathy for her soon-to-be ex-husband. Today, she came here to confirm if the information she'd received was accurate. If it was true, then she could ask her father to send someone to take care of her problem. Miranda walked to the rear of the complex before suddenly turning right when she saw a woman come out of the door of one of the units. The younger woman was wearing a loose sweater coat and had a large, protruding belly. The young woman turned around and said something to the person behind her. Priya ducked behind the community's bulletin board before then peeking back around its corner. Priya watched as the young woman walked down the stairs, closely followed by Charles Kingston. Episode 270, Joanna 2.0. Priya was shocked to see Sylvia and Charles. Why would they be living here? Could it be that Charles didn't even want to go home now? Were Charles and Miranda really going to get a divorce? This made it look like Charles really had left his wife. And what was Miranda doing here? Had Miranda come to see them? Or was she lurking around so she could spy on Charles and his mistress? Sylvia was pretty and much younger than Miranda. She looked like she had a pleasant demeanor and was snuggling up to Charles as they walked. Sylvia was talking about something beside Charles, and she kept looking up at him and smiling. She looked affectionate and lovable. His mistress was completely different from his wife, Miranda. Priya held her breath when she saw the couple's path was going to intersect with Miranda's. But when they passed each other, Charles didn't even seem to notice anyone else, let alone his wife of many years. He was too busy chatting with Sylvia. Miranda, for her part, clearly saw Charles and Sylvia, but she didn't acknowledge or try to speak to the two of them. Priya felt a chill run down her spine. What was Miranda doing here? Miranda must have come here to spy on them, Priya decided. Why else would she hide her identity with a scarf and say nothing when her cheating husband and his pregnant mistress passed right in front of her? No wife would be that tolerant. Miranda was clearly up to something. Charles and Sylvia got into their car and drove off. Sylvia seemed to have fully recovered from her ordeal, and Charles was now taking his mistress out shamelessly. Although Priya didn't like Miranda, as a woman, she still had no sympathy for a cheating husband. What a scumbag. After a while, Miranda also walked out of the complex and got into her car to leave. Priya let out a sigh of relief. She walked towards the rear unit that Priya had seen Charles and Sylvia walk out of. She saw a woman planting flowers in a nearby gardening bed. Priya asked her if she had seen a woman with a scarf just now. "She's my aunt," Priya told the woman. "I asked her to meet me outside earlier, but now I can't find her." The woman brushed the dirt off her hands and rose to speak to Priya. "Sure, I saw a woman. She asked me if I'd seen a pregnant woman. Your aunt thought that the woman looked like the daughter of her friend, and she wanted to congratulate her on her baby. She asked me which unit was hers so your aunt could slip a note under their door with her contact information," she informed her. "Oh, is that so?" Priya smiled at the woman. "That must be why I lost track of her. She's probably out in our car waiting for me. Thanks for your help." Priya then turned and started walking back out to the street. It seemed that Miranda had already figured out which floor Charles and Sylvia lived on by lying to their neighbor. What exactly was Miranda going to do with that information? Priya took out her phone and called Drake. When her boyfriend picked up, Priya quickly filled him in on what she had seen. She wanted to ask Drake whether he thought she should tell Logan or not. In fact, Drake had also found some interesting clues about the man that Miranda had been with earlier. After the man left the restaurant, he went to a nearby bakery. There was a woman waiting outside the shop. When she saw the man, she quickly came over to him. They held hands and walked in. The woman looked about 10 years younger than the man, who was tall and muscular, and probably in his late 40s or early 50s. Drake hadn't followed them in. He didn't know whether Miranda knew about this woman's existence or not, but thought the guy looked suspicious. Drake and Priya then agreed that they needed to tell Logan and Corey what they had seen. They would know what to do and how to handle Miranda. Elizabeth and Lionel had come to an agreement about Elizabeth's need to get pregnant. The two of them had then spent the rest of the night trying to resolve Elizabeth's problem. After a night of little sleep, Lionel left for work the next morning, while Elizabeth lounged at home. They had decided that one night would not be enough. To ensure success, they had made an appointment to see each other again later tonight. Elizabeth hoped that she would be able to leave Logan's birthday dinner early so she could meet up with Lionel sooner. After all, if she wanted to retreat in order to advance, she couldn't pester Logan anymore. It would be best to show her face at his party and then surprise him by quietly leaving. She wanted to make Logan interested in her again, so Elizabeth decided she had to wear something sexy tonight. Plus, then she would look good when she met up with Lionel later. Elizabeth wasn't going to let Nora or Paige give birth to Lionel's baby. The Kingston family was already chaotic enough. Miranda didn't need to drag the Rutherford family and her shrewish Aunt Joyce into the mix. Miranda had always been successful, but she couldn't do anything to her sister-in-law. Elizabeth felt it was her duty to keep her mother from making the mistake of involving them. Plus, Elizabeth really needed to get pregnant. Having Lionel's child was like 3 layers of insurance. It would make Lionel submit to her, and he'd help Elizabeth gain control of the Kingston group over Chloe. As long as Lionel would help her, Elizabeth had determined that she was the sister most capable of running the company. Then, if Logan thought Elizabeth's child was his, she would not only have the power over the Kingston group, but the Smith group as well. Lionel and Logan would both be under Elizabeth's control. She didn't believe that Violet would continue to be a problem. Logan and Violet would break up once she believed that Elizabeth and Logan had hooked up. In addition, there was Garrett, who had also shown interest in Elizabeth. She smiled with excitement. She would soon be the most powerful and desirable woman in all of Los Angeles. Elizabeth would be Joanna 2.0, only instead of 2 powerful men fighting over her, Elizabeth would have 3, Lionel, Logan, and Garrett. Joanna was a great beauty whose colorful love life was famous in Los Angeles. She had been the woman to come between Christopher Alexander and Jackson Gardner. She had provoked the two men into wanting nothing more than to turn against each other for her sake. In the end, both of them died a long time ago. However, Joanna was still alive and well, without any emotional distress. Elizabeth was still daydreaming on the couch when Miranda returned home. It was difficult these days for the mother and daughter to find time to talk, so Elizabeth used this opportunity to ask her mother to contact Joanna and ask her to bring Elizabeth with her to the Alexander house tonight. Miranda had been so busy, she hadn't even realized it was Logan's birthday. Elizabeth explained to her mother that she had not been invited to the birthday dinner. She couldn't attend the party on her own since Logan had rejected her. "Mommy, I really need an ally like Joanna to help me get closer to Logan again. I thought since you two knew each other previously, you could contact Joanna on my behalf," Elizabeth requested. Joanna? Miranda was a bit surprised by her daughter's request. Joanna was just like Dahlia. They were both daughters of rich families and had the same societal background. However, in Miranda's opinion, Joanna was much more capable than Dahlia had ever been. Miranda had heard that she was living a glamorous life overseas with a new boyfriend. Supposedly, Joanna now spent her days hosting parties and traveling the world. Although she was a little older now, she had taken good care of herself. Joanna was beautiful, popular, and vivacious. Logan's mother might be just the ally that Elizabeth needed to finally land her son.